Anger and frustration can creep into our lives in ways we often don't expect. A careless word, a wrong look, or someone's harsh behavior can shake us more than we want to admit. But what if you could live in a way where these things no longer control your feelings? Imagine waking up each day with a calm mind and a steady heart, no longer bothered by others or swept up in angry reactions. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring real problems. It's about learning to take control of how you respond, so your peace doesn't depend on what others do. In this journey, you'll discover practical steps to handle tough situations, ways to protect your calm, and how to build a stronger, quieter center inside yourself. You'll learn how to slow down before reacting, why letting go of always being right changes everything, and how silence can make you stronger. You'll find out why accepting that people won't change frees you, and how setting clear boundaries keeps your mind clear. Most importantly, you'll see why choosing calm when others are angry can change the whole course of your day. This is not about quick fixes or empty advice. It's about real everyday actions that anyone can use to feel less upset and more in control. By practicing these ideas, you'll gain more patience, more peace, and a deeper sense of freedom that comes from within. If you're ready to stop giving away your power to frustration and learn how to live with steady calm, then this is the path for you. Keep going, because the change you want is possible, and it starts with what you do right now. Chapter 1. Take control of how you respond to people. You can spend your whole life trying to control how other people act, speak, and behave, but the only real power you have is over yourself. That truth alone can free you from a lifetime of unnecessary anger and stress. Most people are stuck in emotional chains because they're constantly reacting to others as if their peace depends on how others behave. But real freedom comes when you decide that your emotions belong to you, not to the outside world. The moment you understand this, everything changes. You become unshakable, not because the world is peaceful, but because you are. This is where the work begins, not with trying to change people, but with changing how you respond to them. There's power in that shift. When you take control of your response, you take control of your life. You stop being pulled in 100 directions by every rude word, every strange look, every careless action. Instead of being at the mercy of other people's moods, you become grounded. You stop feeding the chaos and start building something stronger within yourself. That doesn't mean you won't feel frustration. You will. But the difference is, you'll no longer let it run your life. You'll learn how to pause, how to think clearly, and how to choose your response. That choice is everything. It's the space between what happens and what you do about it. In that space, you have all your power. Every time you feel triggered, you are being offered an opportunity. You can either react in the same way you always have, or you can rise above it. And rising above it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're avoiding conflict or pretending to be fine. It means you've developed enough discipline to choose peace over ego. It means you're wise enough to know that yelling back or getting upset isn't going to solve anything. It means you understand that calm is a weapon, and self-control is a kind of quiet strength that most people will never develop. To take control of how you respond to people, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. That's the starting point. You can't change what you won't acknowledge. If you're quick to snap, if you hold grudges, if you let people get under your skin too easily, admit it. There's no shame in that. It just means you have work to do, and that work is internal. It's not about fixing them, it's about improving you. Start paying attention to your patterns. What kind of situations set you off? What types of comments get to you? Who are the people you find most difficult to be around? Don't just dismiss these reactions. Study them. They're showing you where you still need to grow. They're revealing the gaps in your discipline, your patience, your self-worth. Use that information. Make it useful. When someone bothers you, don't ask, why are they like that? Ask instead, why does this affect me so deeply? Taking control of your response isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about getting to a point where you genuinely don't need to react. You're not suppressing anything. You've simply risen above the level of needing to argue, prove, or attack. You've created space inside yourself where peace can live, and no one has the key to that space but you. and this takes practice. It's not a one-time decision, it's something you have to choose over and over again. Some days it will be easy, other days you'll feel tested every hour, but the more you practice staying calm, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you start to respond with clarity instead of emotion. You start to see people's behavior for what it is, usually a reflection of their own pain, insecurity, or immaturity, and you stop taking it personally. That shift is massive, because most of your anger isn't really about the other person, it's about your expectations of how people should treat you. When those expectations aren't met, you get upset. But what if you dropped the expectations and focused instead on your values? You can't control how others behave, but you can always control how you show up. And when your self-worth doesn't depend on other people's respect or approval, you become bulletproof. One of the best ways to build this strength is by practicing the pause. That means creating a habit of not reacting immediately. When someone says something that triggers you, don't respond right away. Give yourself a second to breathe. Give yourself time to check in with your emotions. Ask yourself, what outcome do I want from this moment? That small gap gives you room to choose a better response. Another powerful tool is reframing. When someone is rude or disrespectful, instead of thinking they're attacking me, shift your perspective. Think they must be dealing with something I don't understand. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it helps you stay centered. It reminds you that how someone treats you often has more to do with them than with you. Reframing allows you to stay grounded and keep your power. Also, understand that not everything needs your energy. Silence is a response. Walking away is a response. Not engaging is a response. And often those responses are more powerful than any words you could say. There is strength in restraint. There is wisdom in choosing peace over drama. Every time you hold back from reacting, you grow stronger. You build emotional muscle. Start observing yourself during conversations. How often are you really listening versus waiting to respond? How often are you reacting out of habit versus responding with thought? Bringing awareness to your behavior is the first step toward changing it. It's not about being perfect, it's about getting better one moment at a time. This work requires humility. You have to be willing to admit when you've messed up. You have to be willing to say, I overreacted, or I let my emotions get the best of me. That kind of honesty is what real strength looks like. It's not about being unshakable all the time. It's about recognizing your triggers and taking responsibility for how you deal with them. And don't underestimate the role your lifestyle plays in your emotional control. When you're tired, unhealthy, or mentally drained, your patience wears thin. Take care of your body. Eat better, sleep better, move more. These basic things have a huge impact on how well you manage your emotions. A calm mind lives in a healthy body. Build that foundation. Surround yourself with people who value peace, not conflict. Pay attention to how others handle stress. Learn from those who stay composed under pressure. Their presence can elevate yours. At the same time, limit your exposure to people who constantly bring negativity, gossip, or chaos into your life. Your environment affects your energy. Protect it, and most importantly, forgive yourself. You won't get it right every time. You will lose your temper now and then. That's part of being human. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. Every time you choose a better response, even if it's just a little better, you're building a new version of yourself, stronger, wiser, and more in control. You have the power to stop being reactive. You have the ability to change the way you show up in the world. You don't need anyone else to be different. You just need to be different. That's where your real power lives. It's not in controlling them, it's in mastering yourself. So start today, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Make the decision to own your emotions, your energy, your focus. No more giving away your peace to people who haven't earned. No more letting rude comments or careless actions decide how your day goes. Take that power back, build that strength, and keep choosing it over and over again until it becomes who you are. You won't just feel calmer, you'll feel free. You'll stop needing to prove yourself. You'll stop defending your worth. You'll stop trying to win battles that don't even matter. And in that space, you'll find something rare, peace that doesn't depend on anyone but you. That's where this journey begins. not with them, with you. Chapter 2. Slow down before reacting to anything you hear. Every word you hear has the power to trigger something inside you. It can ignite anger, spark doubt, or stir up old wounds. But none of those emotions have to control you unless you let them. That control begins with one simple but powerful practice: slowing down. Not everything that reaches your ears deserves an immediate reaction. In fact, most of the problems people create for themselves come from reacting too fast and too emotionally. When you take a breath and create just a little space between what you hear and what you do next, you give yourself time to think clearly, act wisely, and stay in control of your own peace. The reason most people get upset isn't because something bad was said. It's because they allowed that moment to bypass their judgment and go straight to their emotions. They hear something offensive and they respond out of habit. They hear something they disagree with and they rush to defend themselves. They hear something critical and they jump to attack. That's how most arguments start. That's how relationships break down. That's how unnecessary stress grows. But you can break that pattern. You can train yourself to pause. It's not weakness to pause. It's mastery. It's the decision to no longer let outside words control your internal state. And it doesn't take years to learn. It takes intention. It takes discipline. It takes a willingness to become more aware of how you function in everyday conversations. It starts the moment you decide that no matter what you hear, you will not react blindly. You will not speak just because you feel triggered. You will not respond until you are calm, steady, and clear. People often confuse speed with strength. They think being quick to react makes them sharp or intelligent. But the truth is, reacting without thinking is often a sign of insecurity, not power. The strongest people are not the loudest or the fastest to speak. They are the ones who listen fully, think deeply, and choose their response carefully. That kind of strength takes inner stability. It comes from knowing that you do not need to rush to defend your ego every time someone says something you don't like. When someone speaks, your job is to listen, not just to their words, but to your own reactions. Feel what's happening inside you. Notice the first emotion that rises. That emotion is not wrong, it's just a signal. Anger might tell you that your boundaries feel violated. Sadness might show you that you care deeply. Frustration might mean something important to you is being ignored. But none of those feelings have to control your next action. You can feel all of them and still respond with wisdom. The key is giving yourself the time to process. Slowing down is not silence for the sake of silence. It's not bottling things up or pretending you don't care. It's the decision to create distance between what was said and what you do next. That distance is where your best self lives. That space is where your higher judgment steps in. That small delay is where you break free from old habits and choose something better. The world will not slow down for you. People will continue to speak carelessly, criticize unfairly, and project their issues onto you. But none of that has to shake your center. You build that center by slowing your own pace. You build that discipline by refusing to match other people's chaos. You choose not to meet noise with more noise. You choose to be the one who stays calm, even when everything around you is loud and messy. It helps to remember that not everything you hear is about you. Most people speak from their own pain, their own fears, their own confusion. They're not thinking about how their words affect others. They're just reacting to their own thoughts. So when someone says something hurtful or unkind, remind yourself, this is their world, not yours. You are not responsible for fixing it or fighting it. You are only responsible for how you show up in this moment. And how you show up becomes a pattern. If you rush to speak every time you feel something, you'll live in a constant state of reaction. But if you slow down, breathe, and choose your words with care, you begin to shift your identity. You stop being someone who gets swept away by conversations. You become someone who holds the space, who creates calm, who brings clarity where there used to be confusion. People will notice that about you. They'll begin to sense that you're different. You'll become someone they trust, someone they turn to, not because you always agree, but because you listen without judgment and respond without anger. This doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you speak up when your words come from a place of strength, not emotion. It means you wait until your feelings have settled and your mind is clear. That kind of communication is rare, it's powerful, and it opens doors. It ends fights before they start. It builds respect. It shows maturity. The more you practice it, the more confident you become in your own voice. Think about how many problems you could avoid by simply waiting 5 seconds before responding. Think about how much regret you could prevent by letting your emotions pass before speaking. Most of the things people say in anger are things they don't even believe. They just didn't slow down long enough to realize it. But once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. The damage is done. You don't want to live like that. You don't want to keep apologizing for things you didn't mean to say. You don't want your relationships strained because you couldn't take a breath. So start small. The next time someone says something that irritates you, do nothing for a few seconds. Just observe what you feel. Let the emotion rise, then let it settle. You'll notice that in that short pause, something shifts. You begin to see more clearly. You begin to understand more fully. And what felt urgent a few seconds ago may now seem trivial. That's growth. That's emotional maturity. That's what this chapter is about. You will be tested, often by the people closest to you. They know your triggers. They know your habits. They might say things without thinking, or push your buttons without even trying. In those moments, remind yourself, I do not need to react. I can pause. I can breathe. I can choose. That internal dialogue becomes your new normal. And over time, it becomes automatic. You're not trying to become emotionless. You're trying to become emotionally intelligent. You're not ignoring your feelings. You're learning to manage them. That's what gives you the upper hand in life. That's what gives you peace. Not because the world is quiet, but because you are. There's something deeply powerful about being able to stay calm when others can't. It makes you reliable. It makes you stable. It makes you wise. And that wisdom will serve you in every area of your life, at home, at work, in friendships, in conflict, in leadership. The more you practice slowing down, the more you rise above the noise that pulls most people down. You owe it to yourself to develop this strength. You owe it to the people you care about to respond to them with clarity instead of reactivity. And you owe it to your future to become someone who leads with presence, not pressure. This is a skill. And like any skill, it gets better with practice. But you have to begin now. You have to make the decision, every single day, that your peace is more important than being right, that your clarity is more valuable than being quick, and that your response is a reflection of your strength, not your mood. This is how you grow, not by trying to fix everyone else, but by mastering what happens between your ears the moment you hear something that bothers you. Slow down, own that moment, and choose who you want to be in it. That's where change begins. That's where peace lives. Chapter 3. Let go of the need to be always right. There is a quiet kind of freedom that comes when you no longer need to be right. It's not loud, it doesn't demand attention, and it doesn't try to win anyone over. It simply allows you to walk through life without carrying the weight of arguments, the tension of proving a point, or the pressure of having the last word. When you let go of the need to be always right, you begin to experience something far more valuable than victory. You experience peace. You learn to listen without interrupting. You learn to understand without defending. You learn to grow without needing validation. And most importantly, you learn that the strength of your character does not depend on being right. It depends on being honest, humble, and open. People who constantly fight to prove they are right live with constant friction. Every disagreement feels like a battle. Every correction feels like an insult. Every opposing idea feels like a threat. And over time, this need to be right becomes a prison. It traps your mind in a state of defensiveness. It keeps you stuck in patterns of control and superiority. It drains your energy because it demands constant alertness and constant comparison. You are always preparing your next response. You are always watching for a mistake in what someone else says. You are always building your argument instead of building a connection. Letting go of this need does not mean you accept lies or tolerate disrespect. It means you stop making your sense of worth dependent on whether others agree with you. It means you no longer enter every conversation with the goal of winning. You show up with the goal of understanding. And when you do that, everything changes. You stop turning every conversation into a courtroom. You stop seeking approval through argument. You stop tying your identity to how smart, informed, or logical you appear. You realize that being right is a poor substitute for being kind, for being thoughtful, for being present. Most people are not even looking for the truth when they argue. They are looking for recognition. They want to be seen. They want to feel significant. They want to feel in control. That's why arguments escalate. It's not about logic. It's about the emotional need to be heard and the fear of being dismissed. If you try to meet that emotional need with facts alone, you will fail. But if you meet it with humility, if you respond with calm presence, you can diffuse tension without needing to prove anything. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do in a disagreement is to say nothing, not out of weakness but out of strength. You know who you are, you know what you believe. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops to feel secure. You don't need to dominate the conversation to feel strong. The more you are grounded in your own values, the less you need others to validate them. And the less you need validation, the more peaceful your life becomes. Letting go of being right also opens the door to learning. When you're no longer obsessed with defending your viewpoint, you become open to hearing others. You become curious. You ask better questions. You listen more deeply, and in that listening, you gain perspective you would have missed. You begin to see that truth is not always simple. People have different backgrounds, different emotions, different life experiences. What is right for one person may not be right for another. When you stop trying to impose your version of truth on everyone, you create space for real understanding to grow. This shift takes practice. It's hard to let go of the need to be right when you've built your confidence around being the smartest, or the most logical, or the most informed. It's hard to stay silent when you know someone is wrong. But ask yourself this: what is your goal? Is it to prove a point, or is it to build peace in your life? Is it to be right, or is it to be at peace with yourself and others? Most arguments aren't worth the energy they take. Most disagreements aren't about the issue, they're about ego. And when you learn to set your ego down, you win a much greater prize: clarity, calm, and maturity. You'll notice something powerful when you let go of being right. You gain influence, not through force, but through respect. People begin to listen to you more, not because you dominate the conversation, but because you bring wisdom. They trust you more, not because you argue well, but because you treat them with respect, even when you disagree. That kind of respect creates space for honest dialogue. It builds bridges. It makes you someone others feel safe with, someone they can be real around. Your relationships improve. Your mind becomes quieter. You stop replaying arguments in your head. You stop trying to think of what you should have said. You stop regretting the words you used in moments of pride or frustration. You begin to notice the value of silence. You begin to feel the power of presence. And you begin to live from a place that doesn't need constant correction or control. This doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you choose carefully when and how you speak. You ask yourself, is this about helping someone, or is it about protecting my ego? Will this create understanding, or will it fuel more division? You start speaking only when your words add clarity or kindness. You stop reacting to every opinion. You stop trying to change people who don't want to change. You stop trying to correct every mistake someone makes in conversation. You begin to trust that people will learn in their own time, and you focus on growing in your own way. Life becomes lighter when you're no longer burdened by needing to be right. Conversations become easier. You laugh more. You listen more. You judge less. You begin to understand that your worth is not tied to what others believe about you. You don't need to explain yourself constantly. You don't need to prove your intelligence. You don't need to show that you know better. You begin to value peace over pride. And once you make that shift, life opens up in a way it never has before. Letting go of being right also teaches you forgiveness. You stop holding grudges based on what someone said years ago. You stop keeping score. You stop needing apologies to move on. You learn to release, not because the other person deserves it, but because your peace is more important than being correct. You learn to walk away from arguments that used to trap you. You learn to smile and say nothing when someone tries to provoke you. You learn that your silence is not surrender, it's strength. It takes courage to release the need to win every debate. It takes maturity to let someone else believe what they want, even when you disagree. But that courage frees you from the constant pressure to perform. That maturity gives you a steady heart in a noisy world. You become someone others admire, not because you always have the right answers, but because you know when to let go. And in letting go, you discover the truth. Being right is not the goal. Living well is. And living well means letting your pride sit in the back seat. It means choosing peace even when your ego wants to fight. It means valuing connection over correction. It means understanding that your time is too precious to waste on proving yourself. You are not here to argue. You are here to grow. And growth requires humility, openness, and the willingness to say, I don't need to be right to be whole. I don't need to win this moment to keep my peace. I don't need agreement to live with purpose. What I need is clarity, patience, and the strength to let go. Chapter 4. Build inner strength by spending time in silence. In a world filled with constant noise, stillness has become rare. We wake up to alerts. We spend the day surrounded by conversations, background sounds, opinions, and the endless stream of distractions. We are pulled in every direction, and rarely do we pause long enough to notice what's happening inside. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the space where awareness grows. It is the space where strength is built. It is the space where your mind can breathe, and until you allow yourself to enter that space, you will always be reactive, unsettled, and easily shaken by things that don't deserve your attention. Building inner strength requires more than motivation or routine. It requires a kind of quiet that allows you to see clearly, think deeply, and return to yourself. Most people are afraid of silence because it forces them to face their own thoughts. But those thoughts, unfiltered and unpolished, are exactly what you need to confront if you want to grow. You cannot control what you refuse to examine. You cannot overcome what you constantly avoid. When you sit in silence without distractions, you begin to recognize the fears, assumptions, and beliefs that quietly drive your behavior. You see your impatience. You notice how quickly your mind reacts. You realize how often your emotions are shaped by noise, not truth. And once you see these things clearly, you can begin to change them, not by force but by awareness. Strength is not just about how much you can endure, it is also about how deeply you understand yourself. And you cannot understand yourself if you are always running from quiet. When you create time for silence every day, even just for a few minutes, you begin to train your mind to be steady. You give it a chance to slow down. You let it separate what matters from what doesn't. You begin to see your triggers before they take control. You start to recognize which thoughts bring tension and which ones bring peace. And over time you learn that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them. That distance between you and your thinking is where inner strength begins. People often look for strength in achievement, in knowledge, in discipline. Those things are important, but none of them are complete without the ability to be still. Silence helps you hear the voice underneath the pressure. It helps you hear the part of you that doesn't need to prove anything. It helps you reconnect with your values. In silence, you are not performing. You are not comparing. You are not explaining. You are simply being. And in that state, you remember that your worth is not built on what you do. It is built on who you are when there's nothing left to hide behind. The world constantly demands your attention, and most people give it away freely. They respond to every message, every complaint, every update. But inner strength means choosing where your attention goes. It means deciding what deserves your energy. Silence helps you develop that clarity. It gives you the ability to pause before reacting. It gives you space to question your assumptions. It gives you the strength to walk away from things that waste your time. When you sit with yourself long enough, you stop chasing approval from the outside because you've built trust with the inside. You can start with just a few minutes a day. Sit without music, without your phone, without distractions. Breathe slowly. Don't try to clear your mind. Just observe it. Let your thoughts pass without judgment. Let the tension in your body melt a little. Don't analyze anything. Just sit and be. At first your mind will resist. It will want to move. It will try to convince you that silence is boring, that you should check something, that you're wasting time. Stay anyway. That resistance is the exact reason you need this time. Every time you stay through it, you become more mentally disciplined. You teach your mind that it doesn't control you. You strengthen your ability to stay centered, no matter what is happening around you. Eventually, that practice spills into the rest of your day. You stop needing to react to everything. You stop getting pulled into arguments that drain your peace. You stop feeding the noise around you. You learn to answer slowly. You think before you speak. You walk away when you need to, and none of that feels like effort anymore. It feels natural. It feels like freedom. You begin to notice beauty in simple moments. You notice your breathing. You feel more grateful. You are more grounded. You are less easily offended, not because the world is less chaotic, but because you've built something steady inside of you. Most people chase calm by changing their environment. They try to avoid difficult people. They try to stay busy so they don't have to think. But that kind of calm is fragile. The moment something unexpected happens, they're back to stress, frustration, and overthinking. Silence builds a different kind of calm. It teaches you how to stay steady, no matter where you are. It gives you space between a moment and your reaction. That space is where your power lives. Without it, you are a slave to your emotions. With it, you are the master of your peace. You begin to see that silence is not a weakness. It is a kind of quiet power that few people ever develop. It's what allows you to be in a room full of chaos and not absorb it. It's what gives you the strength to listen without needing to respond. It's what allows you to see through noise and hear the truth. You no longer need constant input to feel alive. You no longer fear boredom. You learn to sit with yourself and find peace there. And in a world full of people running from themselves, that is a rare and powerful strength. When you build inner strength through silence, your whole life becomes more intentional. You don't speak just to be heard. You speak with purpose. You don't act out of habit. You act with clarity. You don't get caught in every emotion. You observe it, understand it, and choose your response. This doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means you become equipped. It means you don't fall apart when things go wrong. It means you don't break when someone disrespects you. It means you've trained yourself to stay calm, not because everything is perfect, but because you've done the inner work to stay balanced. If you want to stop being controlled by people and situations, you must start spending time in silence. That's where you train your focus. That's where you understand your triggers. That's where you strengthen your ability to remain calm under pressure. Everything you want, peace, clarity, confidence, discipline, it all begins with learning how to be still. And every time you sit with yourself in silence, you become a little stronger, a little wiser, a little more unshakable. Over time, silence becomes your friend. It becomes a safe space, a place where you return to yourself, where you sort through confusion, where you calm your fears. It becomes your reset button, your place of power. And once you've tasted that kind of inner peace, you won't want to live without it. You won't want to go back to reacting without thinking, to living on edge, to being easily triggered by the noise of others. You'll protect your peace with boundaries. You'll prioritize your mental space. You'll carry a stillness within you that others can feel, because silence is not empty. It is full of answers. And once you build your life around it, you realize that the strongest people are not the loudest. They are the ones who have built something powerful in the quiet. Chapter 5. Accept that most people will never change. One of the most exhausting habits we fall into is trying to change people who do not want to be changed. We spend our energy explaining, convincing, repeating ourselves, trying to open someone's eyes when they have no intention of seeing anything differently. It begins with good intentions. We want peace. We want understanding. We want them to grow. But eventually, it becomes a trap. The more we try to help, the more resistance we face. The more we push, the more we are met with silence, denial, or even blame. And then we're left frustrated, not just at them, but at ourselves for expecting something different. That cycle only ends when we accept the truth. Most people refuse to face. Most people will never change. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to. Change is uncomfortable. It requires effort, humility, and the ability to see yourself clearly. Many people are unwilling to go through that. They would rather protect their habits than face their faults. They would rather blame others than take responsibility. They would rather stay in familiar pain than step into unfamiliar growth. This doesn't make them bad people. It makes them human. But the sooner you accept this, the sooner you stop wasting your time trying to make people into something they are not ready to become. You begin to see that your peace does not depend on their growth. Your peace depends on your ability to let go. You do not need to argue with someone to prove a point they have no interest in understanding. You do not need to correct every lie, challenge every flawed opinion, or try to fix someone who is deeply attached to their version of the world. If someone wants to grow, they will. If someone wants to learn, they will ask questions. If someone wants to heal, they will do the work. But if they don't want to change, nothing you say will matter, not your reasoning, not your wisdom, not your effort. And the longer you ignore this, the more energy you lose in battles you were never meant to fight. Peace begins when you stop expecting others to live at the same level of awareness as you. People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. If they haven't faced their past, they will avoid hard conversations. If they haven't confronted their ego, they will reject every piece of feedback. If they haven't sat with their emotions, they will project those emotions onto you. This is not yours to fix. This is not your responsibility to carry. You do not owe anyone the sacrifice of your mental clarity just because you love them or believe in their potential. You must love people where they are, not where you wish they would be. This kind of acceptance isn't giving up, it's growing up. It's choosing to see reality without illusion. It's realizing that no matter how much you care, no matter how clear you are, no matter how good your intentions may be, you cannot force growth onto anyone. You can only offer your presence, your example, and your boundaries. Anything beyond that becomes control disguised as compassion. True compassion allows others to choose their own path, even if that path leads them into more pain. True maturity respects free will, even when it leads to disappointment. Often we hold on to the hope that someone will eventually come around, that time will open their eyes, that one more conversation will finally get through to them. But the truth is, some people are not waiting to change. They are waiting for you to lower your standards. They are waiting for you to become quiet, to stop asking, to stop expecting better. And if you are not careful, you will shrink yourself just to avoid the discomfort of accepting who they truly are. That is not strength. That is not love. That is self-betrayal. Your peace must matter more than your fantasy of what someone might become. When you stop trying to change people, you regain your power. You redirect your energy back to yourself. You spend more time growing your own awareness instead of trying to fix someone else's. You stop being disappointed by their patterns because you stop expecting them to be different. And in that space you become more patient, more grounded, and more emotionally free. You understand that everyone has their own path, their own pace, their own process. Some people grow quickly, some slowly, some never at all. You don't have to interfere with that. You don't have to carry it. What you can do is lead by example. You can live your values fully. You can set boundaries that protect your peace. You can speak with clarity and walk away when your words are not respected. You can choose how close someone gets to you based on their actions, not their potential. You can love people without needing them to change. You can support people without saving them. You can forgive people without staying connected. That is strength. That is wisdom. That is freedom. When you stop needing people to change, you also free yourself from the emotional roller coaster of waiting for them to validate your pain. You no longer beg them to see your side, to apologize, to evolve. You understand that closure is something you give yourself. That peace is not found in someone else's transformation. It is found in your own release. You take your attention off of who they are and place it back on who you are becoming. That shift is everything. It means you no longer carry resentment. It means you no longer dwell in disappointment. It means you start living fully without waiting for someone else to catch up. This kind of acceptance doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you no longer internalize their behavior. It means you stop arguing with reality. If someone shows you they are not interested in growth, believe them. If someone consistently hurts you without remorse, believe that too. Your clarity will protect you more than your hope ever could. And the more clearly you see people, the easier it becomes to make decisions that align with your peace. It is okay to outgrow people. It is okay to love people from a distance. It is okay to move on without waiting for an apology. You do not owe anyone your time just because you used to be close. The past does not give someone a free pass to stay in your life. If they are no longer aligned with your values, you are allowed to move forward. That is not selfish, it is necessary. And the more you practice this, the more space you create for people who are actually capable of growing with you. Eventually, you stop needing to explain yourself. You stop needing to convince anyone of anything. You live in a way that reflects your growth, and you let that speak for itself. People will either rise to meet you, or they will fall away. Either way, you remain grounded, you remain centered, you remain in peace, because you have finally accepted that change is a personal decision, not something you can force into existence. You have accepted that your role is not to transform others, but to transform yourself. In doing so, you reclaim every ounce of energy you once spent trying to fix what was never yours to fix. You become more patient with life, more present in your own journey, more selective with your time. You stop expecting others to behave the way you would, because you know they have not lived what you've lived, they have not learned what you've learned, and they are not meant to walk the same path. You are no longer disappointed by who they are, because you are no longer attached to the illusion of who they could be. You are at peace, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Chapter 6. Protect your peace by setting clear daily boundaries. Peace is not something that arrives by chance. It is something you must guard, something you must protect deliberately every single day. Without clear boundaries, your energy becomes available to anyone who demands it. Your time becomes subject to everyone else's urgency. Your mind becomes vulnerable to whatever enters without permission. And when your life becomes a place where anything or anyone can enter without restraint, you lose clarity, direction, and strength. You begin to feel anxious without knowing why. You feel heavy without knowing what's weighing you down. That confusion is the result of living without boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are doors that you control. They are the firm decisions you make about what is allowed to affect you and what is not. They are the quiet commitments you uphold for your own emotional, mental, and physical well-being. The absence of boundaries leads to exhaustion, resentment, and bitterness. The presence of boundaries leads to calm, focus, and strength. You cannot protect your peace without choosing yourself, and you cannot choose yourself if you are constantly abandoning your needs to please others. Every day the world will try to pull you in 1,000 directions. Messages will flood your phone. People will interrupt your space. Opinions will come at you. Expectations will be placed on you. If you're not intentional, you'll react to all of it. You'll say yes when you mean no. You'll answer when you needed rest. You'll agree when something feels wrong. You'll smile while you're being drained. You'll be polite when you're actually uncomfortable. And then you'll wonder why you feel overwhelmed, disconnected, and frustrated. It's because you've allowed the world to dictate your inner state. That ends the moment you begin setting boundaries. Boundaries are decisions made in advance. They're not about reacting after the damage is done. They're about deciding ahead of time what you are available for and what you are not. You don't wait until your peace is shattered. You decide what will be allowed to reach you. This begins with time. How you spend your time is how you spend your life. If your time is constantly hijacked by other people's plans, emergencies, or endless small talk, then your peace becomes reactive instead of intentional. To reclaim your life, you must begin protecting your time as if it is sacred, because it is. It starts with something as simple as having quiet time in the morning before engaging with the world. Don't give your attention to notifications before you've grounded yourself. Don't schedule your entire day around other people's needs before tending to your own. Even just 30 minutes of silence, reflection, or movement can create a sense of calm that carries you through the rest of the day. That time is not negotiable. It's not extra. It's essential. The more grounded you are in the morning, the less shaken you are by outside noise. Boundaries also show up in how you manage conversations. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every invitation needs a yes. Not every opinion requires a response. When someone speaks with judgment, condescension, or negativity, you are not required to match that energy. You are allowed to disengage. You are allowed to redirect. You are allowed to say, "I'm not available for this kind of conversation." That single sentence can protect hours of your energy. You are not rude for protecting your mental space. You are responsible. Because the longer you entertain chaos, the more your peace becomes something distant instead of something daily. You also need boundaries with yourself. It's not just about saying no to others, it's about knowing when to say no to your own impulses. The impulse to scroll endlessly, the impulse to overwork, the impulse to explain yourself to someone who doesn't value what you're saying, the impulse to engage in conflict that leads nowhere. Discipline is a boundary. It's the ability to pause before reacting, to rest before burning out, to leave before being disrespected. When you have boundaries with your own behavior, you stop being surprised by your own exhaustion. You become someone who chooses peace, not just wishes for it. And peace isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly in the background of a day where you respected your own limits. It's the calm that comes after declining something that doesn't feel right. It's the energy that remains after you've avoided people who drain you. It's the clarity that stays, because you didn't allow your mind to be cluttered with nonsense. That's the reward of boundaries. Not just fewer conflicts, but more room for joy, rest, and deep focus. Sometimes people will resist your boundaries. They're used to you being available. They're used to you saying yes. They're used to you sacrificing your well-being to maintain the peace in the room. But here's the truth. Peace that costs you your peace is not peace, it's control. And anyone who tries to guilt you for protecting your mental space was benefiting from your lack of boundaries. That discomfort you feel when you begin saying no is temporary. It fades. What remains is a life that feels lighter, stronger, and more stable. You don't need to explain your boundaries to everyone. You don't need to make them palatable. You simply need to honor them. If you're tired, rest. If you're overwhelmed, step back. If something doesn't feel aligned, decline. If someone consistently brings negativity, create distance. Boundaries are not about judgment. They're about preservation. You are allowed to choose what energy enters your life. You are allowed to curate your environment so that your nervous system is not constantly under attack. Start small. Choose one area of your life where your peace feels compromised. Maybe it's constant messages at night. Maybe it's a person who oversteps your time. Maybe it's your own tendency to overcommit. Decide on a simple rule for yourself, then practice holding it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. And over time, those small decisions turn into a way of life. A life where your energy is no longer scattered. A life where your mind feels clear. A life where your emotional space belongs to you again. The more you honor your boundaries, the more confident you become. You begin to realize that you don't need to be everything to everyone. You don't need to carry everyone's emotions. You don't need to be the one who always understands, always listens, always gives. You can be kind without being available for everything. You can be generous without draining yourself. You can be loving and firm at the same time. The world won't fall apart if you say no, but your inner world might fall back into place. The more boundaries you set, the more peace you keep. You stop waiting for others to change, for circumstances to slow down, for life to suddenly become easier. Instead, you become the gatekeeper of your experience. You stop blaming the outside world for your internal chaos. You stop asking why things feel so heavy, because you know exactly what to adjust. Boundaries are not selfish. They are an act of self-respect. They are the daily choice to prioritize what truly matters and to release what does not. In the end, peace is not just something you feel, it's something you build. One decision at a time, one conversation at a time, one small no at a time. You don't wait for peace to find you. You create it, you protect it, you live in a way that honors it. And when you do, your life begins to reflect the calm you've always been seeking, not because the world changed, but because you did. Chapter 7. Speak with calm when others speak with anger. When someone speaks with anger, your first instinct might be to match their tone, defend your position, or strike back with words of your own. It feels like a form of self-protection, like you're preserving your dignity or making sure you aren't walked over. But in truth, reacting with anger rarely brings resolution. It escalates tension, it sharpens conflict, it replaces understanding with ego and connection with division. Speaking calmly in the face of anger is not weakness, it's the clearest display of strength, maturity, and self-mastery. It is the quiet power that changes the tone of a conversation and sometimes even changes a relationship. When someone raises their voice, it's often not about you, it's about something inside them. It could be stress they haven't processed. It could be pain they don't know how to express. It could be fear disguised as control. Your role in those moments is not to absorb their storm, but to become the anchor that doesn't move. Calm speech is not passive, it is active restraint. It's the discipline to remain grounded when everything around you tries to pull you off balance. It's the ability to stay clear when another person is clouded by emotion. Your voice carries weight. When you lower your voice, you raise the chances of being heard. Anger is loud, but calm is commanding. When you respond with gentleness, you disrupt the pattern. You slow down the heat of the moment. You give both yourself and the other person a chance to breathe. Even if they continue shouting, even if they don't mirror your calm, you have already shifted the energy by refusing to join in the chaos. That shift, though subtle, is powerful. It protects your peace and sets a boundary in real time. This conversation will not spiral because you chose not to spiral. This is not easy. It takes practice to hold your center when someone else has lost theirs. It takes awareness to feel your heart racing, your thoughts speeding up and still choose not to explode. It requires you to separate their emotion from your identity. Just because someone is upset doesn't mean you are at fault. Just because someone lashes out doesn't mean you are unsafe. Just because someone is angry doesn't mean you have to be. The moment you internalize their emotion, you give away your power. But the moment you stay present and conscious of your tone, you reclaim your strength. Responding with calm starts before the conversation ever begins. It starts with how you manage your inner world. If you spend your days overstimulated, impatient and reactive, you'll have very little capacity to stay composed when conflict arises. But if you're living with intention, with moments of stillness and reflection woven into your routine, you'll find yourself less shaken when intensity shows up. Your nervous system will be used to calm, your mind will know how to pause, and your words will be chosen rather than thrown. You must also release the idea that every angry person deserves an explanation. Sometimes silence is your best response. Sometimes walking away is the most respectful option for both parties. Calmness doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you respond with clarity, not retaliation. You don't match immaturity with more immaturity. You don't give away your peace just to prove a point. If someone's behavior crosses a line, address it when the energy is stable, not while they're yelling and not while you're boiling inside. Calm creates space for honest reflection. It allows you to approach the situation later with reason instead of regret. When someone speaks with anger, remind yourself, this moment will pass, the emotion will fade. What will remain are the words that were spoken. If you meet their anger with your own, you may say things that you didn't mean. You may inflict wounds that take years to heal. But if you meet it with calm, even if the conversation doesn't resolve immediately, you've avoided making it worse. You've kept your integrity. You've protected your energy. And more than that, you've led by example. You've shown that there's another way to communicate, one built on clarity, not chaos. People remember how you made them feel. When you respond with calm in a heated moment, it may not be recognized right away. They may continue arguing. They may misunderstand your stillness as indifference. But later, when the heat cools, they may think about how you didn't attack back. They may respect how you stayed composed. They may even begin to mirror your behavior in future conversations. Because calm has a ripple effect, it plants a seed. And though it doesn't always change things instantly, it creates the possibility of growth. You don't need to be a master of language to de-escalate conflict. You just need to be a master of your tone. Speak slowly, breathe between sentences, pause before replying. Validate what you can without compromising your truth. If someone says, "You never listen," instead of defending yourself, say, "I want to understand. Tell me what I missed." If someone accuses you unfairly, say, "I hear your frustration. Let's talk when we're both calmer." These aren't scripts to memorize, they're mindsets to embody. You're not trying to win, you're trying to understand and stay in alignment with who you want to be. Calmness in anger-filled situations is also an act of self-protection. High-stress conversations take a toll on your body. Your muscles tense, your blood pressure rises, your breathing becomes shallow. But when you ground yourself, plant your feet, soften your shoulders, lower your voice, you signal to your body that you are safe, even when someone else is not acting that way. This physical self-regulation allows your brain to think clearly instead of reacting emotionally. You are no longer hijacked by their energy. You are centered in your own. Over time, speaking with calm becomes second nature. It becomes a part of your identity. You no longer feel the need to raise your voice to be respected. You no longer feel tempted to one-up someone's insults. You no longer carry the burden of needing to be right in every disagreement. You begin to see anger for what it is, a signal, not a threat. And in recognizing that, you give yourself the freedom to respond rather than react. There will still be moments when your calm is tested. People will still speak with harshness. Conflict will still arise. But your goal is not to eliminate those moments. It's to meet them differently. It's to become the person who knows how to walk through fire without adding fuel. It's to be the steady presence in an unsteady world. That steadiness becomes your strength. That calm becomes your confidence. And that self-control becomes your peace. You are not responsible for how others feel, but you are responsible for how you show up. Speak calmly, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because peace is something you carry with you, and no one, not even those who yell, criticize, or lash out, deserve the power to take it from you. Chapter 8. Detach from opinions that do not serve you. Opinions are everywhere. They come from friends, strangers, colleagues, and sometimes even family members. Everyone has an idea about who you are, what you should do, and how you should live your life. The problem is not that people have opinions, but that you can get caught up in them so deeply that they start to control your feelings, your decisions, and your peace of mind. Detaching from opinions that do not serve you is one of the most powerful steps you can take toward freedom and self-mastery. It allows you to reclaim your energy, maintain your focus, and live according to your true values rather than the expectations of others. Detachment from others' opinions is not about ignoring feedback or refusing to grow. It's about choosing which voices have a rightful place in your life and which ones only cause noise and distraction. When you let every opinion dictate your mood or choices, you lose clarity. You begin to live fragmented, trying to satisfy everyone, which is impossible and exhausting. Instead, by creating distance from those opinions that do not help you become better, you protect your mental and emotional well-being. This detachment is a practice, a skill that requires awareness, discipline, and sometimes courage. The first step to detachment is recognizing when an opinion is not serving you. This requires honest reflection. Ask yourself, does this opinion help me grow? Does it align with my values and goals? Does it encourage me or discourage me? If the answer is no, then it's a signal to loosen its grip on you. This is not always easy, because opinions often come wrapped in emotions. Anger, fear, guilt, or shame. The challenge is to see the opinion separately from those emotions. You can acknowledge that someone feels a certain way without accepting that their feeling should become your reality. A common trap is giving too much weight to criticism or judgment that is harsh or unfair. This kind of opinion is more about the speaker's own issues than about you. When someone criticizes you in a hurtful way, it's often their own pain, insecurity, or frustration speaking. You are not responsible for fixing their feelings or proving them wrong. Detaching means refusing to internalize their negativity. It means understanding that their harsh opinion says more about them than about your worth or ability. Another form of unhelpful opinion is the unsolicited advice that limits rather than liberates. People sometimes offer opinions based on their limited experiences or fears. They may say things like, "You can't do that," or "That's not practical," or "You should be more realistic." These opinions are cages disguised as guidance. Detaching means refusing to let these cages hold you back. You respect the intention behind the advice, but do not let it dictate your direction. You keep your vision alive, even when others try to dim it. Detachment is also essential, because opinions change. What one person thinks today, another person will think tomorrow. If you base your self-worth or decisions on shifting external views, you will live in constant turmoil. By creating space between yourself and the opinions around you, you establish an inner foundation that is unshakable. Your values, your goals, and your sense of purpose become your compass rather than the changing winds of others' thoughts. Practicing detachment starts with your inner dialogue. Pay attention to the way you repeat others' opinions to yourself. If you catch yourself thinking, "They said I'm not good enough," or "They think I'm wrong," stop and question that thought. Ask yourself, is this opinion true? Is it useful? Does it reflect my reality or someone else's projection? When you challenge these thoughts, you weaken their power over you. Replace them with your own affirmations, truths that reflect your worth, your strengths, and your intentions. Setting boundaries is a practical tool to support detachment. This might mean limiting conversations with people who constantly judge or criticize you. It might mean reducing exposure to social media voices that trigger doubt or anxiety. Boundaries protect your mental space so you can focus on what matters. They are not about shutting people out, but about protecting your ability to stay centered. You choose what to listen to and what to let go. Detach with kindness, especially when opinions come from people you care about. It's natural to want approval or acceptance from those closest to you, but detachment doesn't require cutting off relationships. It requires changing how much power those opinions hold over you. You can listen respectfully, acknowledge their point of view, and still decide not to let it affect your peace. Over time, this gentle but firm approach creates healthier dynamics where your true self can thrive without constant second-guessing. Another important aspect is recognizing the difference between constructive feedback and destructive opinion. Constructive feedback is specific, actionable, and aimed at helping you improve. Destructive opinion is vague, personal, and meant to tear down. Learn to separate the two. When you receive constructive feedback, welcome it with openness. When you encounter destructive opinion, detach and protect your spirit. Detachment also means accepting that you cannot control what others think or say about you. This acceptance is liberating because it shifts your focus inward. Instead of trying to manage external approval, you manage your own values, actions, and feelings. You become the source of your validation. This is not arrogance, it's realism. It's understanding that your energy is limited and should be invested wisely. Remember that every opinion you detach from frees up space for your own voice to grow stronger. When you stop trying to please everyone, you start pleasing the one who matters most. Your decisions become clearer, your confidence grows, your peace deepens. You create a life that reflects your truth, not a patchwork of others' expectations. The journey to detachment is ongoing. Some days it's easier, other days opinions sneak in and shake your foundation. That's normal. Be patient with yourself. Each time you practice detachment, you build resilience. Each time you reclaim your energy, you strengthen your freedom, and every moment you choose your peace over someone else's judgment, you move closer to mastering your mind. Ultimately, detaching from opinions that do not serve you is a radical act of self-love and respect. It's a statement that your well-being matters more than pleasing others. It's the quiet rebellion against the noise of judgment. It's the foundation of a calm mind, a strong heart, and a life lived on your own terms. This is the power you carry when you stop giving away your peace to opinions that do not belong to you. Chapter 9. Choose patience when your emotions feel most intense. When emotions rise and overwhelm you, it is natural to want immediate relief, to react quickly and forcefully. In those moments, patience becomes not just a virtue, but a vital skill to master. Choosing patience when emotions feel most intense can change the entire course of your day, your relationships, and ultimately your life. It is an intentional act of strength, a conscious decision to pause, breathe, and allow clarity to return before acting. Intense emotions, whether anger, frustration, anxiety, or sadness, often cloud judgment and distort reality. They make problems appear bigger and solutions more distant. When you respond impulsively during these peaks of emotion, you risk making decisions that lead to regret, hurt, or missed opportunities. Patience creates space between stimulus and response. It allows you to step back, observe your feelings without being swept away, and choose a wiser course. The first step to practicing patience amid strong emotions is recognizing that the feeling is temporary. Emotions rise and fall like waves. They may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they do not last forever. Understanding this natural rhythm can reduce the urgency to react immediately. It reminds you that time is an ally, not an enemy. By simply waiting, you give yourself the chance to see things from a calmer perspective. Another essential step is to develop awareness of your body's signals. Emotions manifest physically: tightness in the chest, shallow breathing, a racing heart. When you notice these signs early, you can interrupt the automatic reaction, slow down your breathing, relax your muscles, and ground yourself in the present moment. These physical acts support mental patience by calming the nervous system and bringing focus back to the here and now. Choosing patience also means resisting the temptation to act out of fear or anger. These emotions can push you to lash out, blame others, or retreat in silence. Instead of feeding the fire, patience invites you to ask, what is this emotion really about? What is beneath the surface? Often, intense feelings are signals pointing to unmet needs, past wounds, or misperceptions. By patiently exploring these layers, you gain insight and can respond with greater wisdom and compassion. Patience does not mean passivity or ignoring your emotions. It means holding space for them without letting them control you. This takes discipline and practice. One way to build this discipline is through mindfulness, cultivating a habit of observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Mindfulness teaches you to be present with discomfort rather than running from it. This presence builds emotional resilience and deepens your capacity for patience. When emotions run high, communication can become a minefield. Patience helps you choose words carefully, speak calmly, and listen deeply. Responding patiently prevents escalation and opens the door for understanding. It allows conflicts to be resolved more effectively because both parties feel heard and respected. Patience in conversation is a powerful form of emotional intelligence that fosters stronger connections and reduces stress. In moments of emotional intensity, setting a small pause before responding can be transformative. This pause might be just a few seconds or several minutes depending on the situation. During this time, take a few deep breaths, count slowly, or step away briefly if possible. These simple acts create distance from the emotional charge and allow rational thought to re-enter. Over time, this habit becomes automatic, and you find yourself reacting with calm rather than impulse. Choosing patience also means accepting that some things cannot be changed immediately or on your timetable. Life often presents challenges and frustrations that require endurance. Patience teaches you to tolerate discomfort without losing hope or resorting to anger. It builds mental toughness by reminding you that difficult moments are temporary chapters, not your whole story. This perspective fosters peace and steadiness even in uncertainty. Building patience is like training a muscle. It grows stronger each time you practice. Start small by applying patience to everyday annoyances: a slow driver, a delayed email, a misunderstanding. Notice how your experience changes when you respond patiently. Over time, extend this skill to more significant emotional challenges. Celebrate each success as a step toward greater emotional mastery and freedom from reactive suffering. Sometimes impatience stems from unrealistic expectations. When you expect everything to happen instantly or everyone to behave perfectly, frustration and anger easily follow. Patience helps realign expectations with reality. It encourages acceptance of human imperfection and the natural pace of life. By releasing the need for control and immediacy, you reduce internal pressure and increase your capacity to remain calm under stress. Another powerful practice is reframing your experience. Instead of seeing emotional intensity as a threat, view it as an opportunity to learn about yourself. Emotions are teachers that reveal your values, boundaries, and areas for growth. Patience allows you to listen to these lessons without being overwhelmed. This mindset shifts your relationship with emotions from adversarial to curious and constructive. Patience also requires compassion toward yourself and others. When you feel intense emotions, be kind rather than harsh with yourself. Acknowledge that being human includes vulnerability and mistakes. Extend the same compassion to others who may be struggling or causing tension. This attitude softens judgment and creates space for healing and understanding. Compassion and patience together nurture emotional balance and healthier relationships. Choosing patience in emotional moments is not a one-time decision, but a continuous commitment. Each situation will test your resolve differently. Some days you may fall back into old patterns, and that is okay. Growth is non-linear. What matters is returning to patience with renewed intention and learning from each experience. Over time, patience becomes part of your character rather than a temporary effort. The rewards of practicing patience during intense emotions are profound. You gain clarity and peace even amid chaos. Your relationships improve because you communicate more effectively and respond with empathy. You protect your mental and physical health by reducing stress and avoiding regretful actions. Most importantly, you cultivate a deep sense of self-control and inner strength that no external event can shake. In choosing patience, you claim your power. You decide how to navigate the storms of emotion rather than being swept away by them. This choice transforms reactive suffering into mindful living. It opens the door to wisdom, resilience, and a more fulfilling life. Each moment of patience is a victory over impulsivity and a step toward lasting peace. Practice patience not only when it is easy, but especially when it feels hardest. This is where true growth happens. In those moments, pause deeply, breathe fully, and choose to wait before you act. Remember that patience is not weakness, but the strength to hold space for yourself and your emotions without losing control. It is the foundation of emotional mastery and a calmer, more intentional life. Embrace patience as a daily discipline. Let it guide your responses and shape your character. With patience, you gain freedom from the tyranny of your emotions. You develop the power to respond with wisdom rather than reaction. This power leads to lasting peace, stronger relationships, and greater fulfillment. Choose patience and reclaim your life from the grip of intense feelings. Chapter 10. Practice forgiveness even when it feels unfair now. Forgiveness is one of the most difficult lessons life asks us to learn, especially when the wounds run deep and the injustice feels glaring. It is not an easy path to take, nor does it offer immediate relief or fairness. Yet practicing forgiveness, even when it feels undeserved, is a profound act of strength that frees you more than anyone else. It is not about condoning wrongdoing or forgetting what happened. Instead, it is a deliberate choice to release the heavy burden of anger, resentment, and pain that chains you to the past. The moment you hold on to bitterness, you give away your peace and power. Resentment weighs on the heart and clouds the mind, making it difficult to see clearly or move forward. Forgiveness creates a space within where healing can begin. It is an inner surrender, a willingness to let go of the toxic emotions that poison your spirit. This does not mean the other person must apologize or change. The act of forgiveness is entirely your own, independent of external circumstances. Forgiving when it feels unfair requires shifting your focus away from the injustice itself toward your own well-being. It is a form of self-care that honors your right to live without the chains of anger and hurt. Holding on to grudges keeps you stuck in a cycle of pain, replaying the offense repeatedly in your mind. Forgiveness breaks this cycle. It brings light to the dark corners of your soul and invites peace to settle where turmoil once lived. The process of forgiveness begins with acknowledging your feelings honestly. Denying pain or pretending to be okay only buries emotions that demand attention. Give yourself permission to feel anger, sadness, or betrayal fully. Sit with these emotions without judgment. When you allow yourself this space, you reduce their power over you and start to see them as temporary states rather than permanent identities. Once feelings are acknowledged, the next step is to understand that forgiveness is a choice, not a feeling. You may not feel ready or willing initially, and that is natural. The choice to forgive can come before the feeling of forgiveness arises. This decision is an act of courage and wisdom. It recognizes that you are reclaiming control over your emotional life instead of letting past wounds dictate your future. Often the hardest part of forgiveness is the sense of unfairness. Why should you forgive when the other person has not changed or shown remorse? It is important to remember that forgiveness is not about justice or fairness. Those concepts belong to external systems, not your internal world. Forgiveness is an act of liberation. It frees you from being a prisoner of someone else's actions and choices. Holding on to the need for fairness only prolongs suffering. A helpful way to approach forgiveness is to reframe your story. Instead of defining yourself as a victim or holding the offense as a permanent identity, see it as a chapter in your life's journey. This perspective allows you to find meaning beyond the hurt. Every challenge and hurt carries a lesson, a chance for growth. Forgiveness opens the door to that growth by letting you step out of the shadow of pain into the light of healing. Forgiveness also requires compassion, not only for the person who hurt you, but for yourself. Be gentle with your own heart. Understand that healing takes time and that setbacks are part of the process. Self-compassion helps you move through forgiveness without forcing or rushing it. It reminds you that you deserve peace and that forgiving is a gift you give to yourself first and foremost. Practicing forgiveness does not mean you have to reconcile or forget boundaries. You can forgive someone and still choose distance if that is what protects your well-being. Forgiveness is an internal release, not necessarily an external reunion. This distinction helps maintain your safety and dignity while freeing your spirit from bitterness. One practical way to cultivate forgiveness is through reflection and journaling. Write down your feelings about the hurt, the person involved, and what forgiveness means to you. Explore your resistance to forgiving and the impact of holding on to resentment. Journaling creates clarity and gives your thoughts a safe space to unfold. It can reveal insights that lead you closer to forgiveness. Another powerful tool is visualization. Imagine yourself releasing the burden of resentment as a physical weight, watching it dissolve or drift away. Visualize yourself embracing peace and lightness. This mental practice strengthens your intention to forgive and connects you emotionally to the freedom it brings. Meditation and mindfulness can also support forgiveness by anchoring you in the present moment. Often, resentment ties you to the past, replaying events over and over. Mindfulness helps you observe these thoughts without getting lost in them. It cultivates a gentle awareness that allows emotions to come and go without clinging. This creates the mental space needed for forgiveness to grow. When forgiveness feels impossible, remind yourself that it is a process, not an event. You may need to return to the decision to forgive many times, gradually softening your heart. Patience with yourself is crucial. Progress can be slow, and that is okay. Each step toward forgiveness is a victory worth celebrating. Forgiveness also transforms your relationships, not only with others but with yourself. Carrying anger and resentment distorts how you see the world and yourself. Letting go of these feelings restores balance and clarity. It opens you to joy, connection, and trust. You create room for healthier, more loving interactions by freeing your heart from past pain. Choosing to forgive in the face of unfairness is an act of immense courage. It reflects a deep commitment to your own peace and growth. It is a rejection of victimhood and a declaration of personal sovereignty. This choice sets you apart as someone who masters their inner world rather than being mastered by it. In the long run, forgiveness leads to profound freedom. It unchains you from the past and allows you to live fully in the present. It lightens your emotional load and strengthens your resilience. The more you forgive, the more you reclaim your energy for what truly matters: love, creativity, growth, and peace. When you practice forgiveness even when it feels unfair, you become an example of strength and grace. Your life becomes a testimony to the power of inner freedom. You inspire others to seek the same liberation from pain. Forgiveness is a legacy that benefits not only you but everyone around you. In the quiet moments when resentment stirs, remember your choice to forgive. Reaffirm your commitment to peace over pain. Recognize forgiveness as a daily practice, a continual return to love over anger. This mindset reshapes your experience of hardship and loss, transforming obstacles into opportunities for healing. Ultimately, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It frees you from the chains of bitterness and allows you to move forward with dignity and calm. It is a journey worth undertaking, no matter how unfair the path may seem. Embracing forgiveness, even when it feels undeserved, unlocks the door to lasting peace and profound personal freedom.